Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Hello, folks. It is a more beautiful day in Montreal than I thought it would be. Um, Today, the Habs actually won a game. Well, I say that like they haven't been, but let's talk about it a little bit. There's a Habs win, and a Oilers loss, which kind of, comes with the other, but I didn't expect to say those two things together. So, how are you feeling about today's game, Graham? Yeah, yeah. No, he's not coming through? Okay. Yeah, I can't hear you. I'm just gonna check real quick. No, I don't think it is. For some reason, OBS has just decided. Um, this is a classic, guys. You know what I mean? I'm taking over for the app for the Habs and how they're playing. Like someone's gotta, someone's gotta get in the dirty areas, I guess. Um, I'm sure you guys will let us know as soon as you can hear Graham. Uh, I am going to. I'm. This is not as. I didn't realize how much pressure this was until I started doing it.
See from the game, what did you really like? Even though you
I'm
can't hear
going
me,
to.
vamp on your own.
I'm sure.
This is not
Something.
as I didn't realize how much pressure
Okay,
this
guys,
was
just let us
until
know.
I started doing it.
But for me personally, this game was unexpected, as I said. Um, we At first, I think Monty kept us in the game, which Graham and I are going to circle back to Montembeau. Um, I think that they played 60 minutes, which for a team that's like made up of apparently 12-year-olds with the attention span of a 2-year-old, uh, it seems to have actually it's shocking. And I'm positively shocked because I thought maybe they got juice from like Shea Weber night last game, but apparently not. How are we doing on the sound?
Apparently, there's a slight echo, but I do exist. Hello, friends. Hi, Game Over Montreal, pals. Nice to be here. Yeah, I Sam Montembeau is so frustrating because when he wants to be good, he can suddenly become the ghost of Patrick Waugh,
Yeah,
or at least Cristobal Huet
yeah,
at times. And other times he's just a potato in pads. And that's so deeply confusing as a Canadian hockey fan who kind of thought that he was going to come back from and end up being on the Nations face-off team, although that's conversation still going to be there. From the Oilers side, this is so frustratingly indicative of things that's plagued this team all year,
yeah,
where you'll have a ton of pressure. You will, by all accounts, look to be, yes, this is a game we're going to demo the other team 7-0. And then, oh, they don't score. We didn't score. It got hard. Oh, what are we going to do now? I guess we'll just galaxy brain handling the puck, and then everything will go sideways because they'll just fully get away from the game. They get that help them be good and put successful pressure on the ice because they just don't see that success. Whether that's the power play, whether that's 5-on-5, if it doesn't work.
yeah, yeah.
The history.
Oh, I think the echo should be fixed. Sorry, I was troubleshooting. we got it. I think the chat will let you know pretty soon if it was fixed or not, if I muted you. Uh, so for me, I was seeing, is this typical? I was seeing a lot of frustration on McDavid in terms of body language. Um, is this something that happens with him?
I think people have been trying to figure out Connor McDavid body language since he first became an Oiler.
Yeah.
When the card came up and oh, he's trying to go to Edmonton, which he was. It's fine. Um, I, yeah. Well, why wouldn't you be frustrated?
Yeah,
Like you're
100%.
playing against a team that is historically, at least this season, hilariously leaky in terms of like giving up scoring chances, and you can't put in a goal because you have against Sam Montembeault, who's occasionally really, really rad.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little like the frustration is Crosby gets frustrated, McKinnon gets frustrated, Ovechkin gets frustrated, although not now. He scored again. Good lord. Yeah, when you're not scoring and you're the best player in hockey, you get frustrated. So I don't know how much there is to read into it. It's
It's
just
fair. I
eh.
guess the reason, I mean, I'm a Habs fan, so I'm legally obliged to like really fuck with the captains in terms of, and I'm not like, I'm a Nick Suzuki defender, so I'm like, oh, who's another captain in this game that I can go after? Apparently, that's kind of where I'm at. But I gotta come into this with a disclaimer of I am not a Edmonton's Oilers enjoyer. In fact, some may say I'm an Edmonton Oilers hater. My
Yeah,
favorite,
Stan Bowman sucks. I get it. It's I understand. If I would
yeah,
cheer for a different team, I'd probably hate us too.
it's just I also watch a lot of the Avs. Again, everybody in the chat is probably like, yeah, we fucking get it. But I watch a lot of the Avs, and I'm sure that, there's some I see a lot more of the Oilers because of that. So, I'm I gotta be honest with you. I come into it being like, well, Connor McDavid is a great player, but what if he wasn't? I'm gonna imagine he isn't. But like, of course, I'm not actually convinced he's not a good player. It's just I talk myself into being like, there's something wrong with him. But I mean, that's just me doing a bit. He's a very good player who's obviously really, really good. So I was pleasantly surprised to see that like the Habs were frustrating him. Um, that they were frustrating the entire team. I think you mentioned that you feel like the Oilers get really in their head about a game when it's not going the way they're expecting it to.
Yeah, and it's definitely something that's happened more than once over this season. It was most noticeable in the first game. Like the first time it really came up was our first game against Calgary earlier this year, where it just didn't work, and they started rather than trying to play a simple and effective game. It's like, well, we're going to use all this skill we have in the world to try to make something out of nothing, and then it ends up falling apart really quickly. I mean, there's three separate times for the Oilers this game where you had players make their way into kind of that score box you have in between the two circles.
Mhm.
Because outside of like Matheson and Hudson, you're not getting a ton of pushback from the Montreal D for the most part. Also, when did Matheson become this good? Did I miss that? I did not realize that
Matheson
he was
doesn't
genuinely rad.
always sometimes he's this good and sometimes he's not. Is the Matheson experience. When we first got him, all Penguins fans were like, you'll either really love him one night or you'll really fucking hate him. And I feel like we're kind of seeing that. So that's kind of so yeah, you feel like Matheson and Hudson were able to kind of hold that forward. And so I'm not sure if you noticed because the broadcast didn't mention it. That was
Can we park some time? The
yeah,
Prime broadcast fucking blows. It's
it really
bad
does.
and it's boring.
Because I found them really good last time I watched a game. Or like not like really good, but I thought they were doing a good job. Um, but this broadcast, I was like, there's something left to be desired there. Um, there were definitely times that I was like, guys, what are we doing here? Um, But yeah, halfway through the first, or even early in the first, I want to say, King Gooley, which got my mention in, guys. That's a tick.
I
Uh,
hate how good he is. I'm just annoyed. Former Edmonton Oil King, you're
yeah,
welcome,
yeah,
Montreal.
yeah. Trust me, thank you. I am Madame President of Gooley Nation.
Oh, I
So
know. Oh,
yeah,
I know. I
yeah.
know. We are coworkers.
I have to reassert my dominance over Gooley every once in a while. You know what I mean? Uh, I have to be like, no, that's anyways, that's a different situation. But for me, I'm just he blocked a shot and he was gone for a bit. And I was really concerned because I'm not sure if you know how the Habs injuries go. They're usually
It's
like,
been bad.
yeah, this guy stubbed a toe, he's out for 15 months. And it's like, cool, that's fine. I guess that's where we're at. So I was honestly expecting Edmonton to be able to wear us down, especially in the first. I was expecting the second part of the first to really um, be a portion where they're opportunistic and they have that killer instinct of being like, these guys are missing a guy who plays 20 minutes a night. Like, let's take advantage of that. Um, so kind of how were you feeling going out of the first? Did you think that like it was just gonna happen, or how were you?
Oh, I
Did you
thought
have a pit in your stomach?
no, I maybe this is my kind of weird ignorance as an Oilers fan, understanding what team I freaking cheer for. Even after the first goal, I was like, "Oh, they'll be fine. They'll still
Yeah.
like they've had a lot of pressure. At some point, the dam will break, and they're gonna rip off like 6 goals in a minute and a half,
Mhm.
or there's gonna be a flurry of goals to
It's the
come
Habs.
because
That isn't completely impossible. They could have done 6 goals in a minute and a half, I promise you. So it's fine.
well, well, and we saw it even a couple nights ago when the Oilers had 3 goals in a minute and 46 seconds. Like there still is that ability there,
Mhm.
but not having. I really think that not having Darnell Nurse, especially on the offensive side of the puck, is a bigger hole than I think this team may give it credit for. And I know Darnell Nurse is a bum. He sucks. $9.5 million. Yeah, he's overpaid by probably maybe $2.5 million, probably. But what's that get you? One lightly used, who's a mediocre player that makes $2.5 million. I don't know. Pick half the players in the Leafs.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but Darnell Nurse does add something to this team, and not having that because he's so much better offensively in in getting the puck to the places where it needs to be for players to score.
Yeah.
And without having that, the team really lost something because oh boy, when you're rolling out a defense core that has Troy Stetcher, Travis Dermott, and Ty Emberson, who will be awesome. Yeah, this team is missing something. They're definitely missing something.
Yeah. So in the chat, which by the way, hi to our chat. I hope that there's well, I can't tell who's the Oilers fans in here. I'm sure you'll be nice. But I hope the Habs fans in here are nice. Guys, let's be nice. Uh
Everyone's been so cool. This chat's rad. I genuinely
our
like
chat
this
does
chat
really
has been
rock.
going off,
Our
and I
chat
friggin'
really
love
does
it.
rock. Yeah, like hi everybody. Hi. Hi Claire. We got the mark. Hi Claire. So yeah, I'm seeing David in here saying that they have serious depth issues. Is that like in terms of D, I'd imagine. How is that the truth?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's something we knew kind of going into the season. I mean, it's not when you oh, I hate that I'm saying these words. When you trade away Cody Cece for a 24-year-old who's only played for shitty teams, and has been fine because you need to clear up some cap space to bring in Victor Arvidsson and Chef Skinner. I think you're hoping to outscore your problems. The
Yeah.
trouble is, you are not making up that mat. Like you're not making it up. You're just not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, when the defense was already circumspect in a lot of ways, one thing that has been rad is to see how good Brett Kulak has been.
Yeah. He
He's
rocks.
really been he's been really great
Yeah.
for the last little while, and I've loved watching that. For you Oilers fans, how do you go from this is from Ramali? How do you go from losing Nurse to 7 defense in the lineup? We had 7 defense in the lineup where Nurse was there. So they're just keeping that same rotation going, I'm assuming,
Mm-hmm.
for the road trip.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, look, Josh Brown is not an NHL player. He's not. at all.
I did a lot of yelling at my
He's
screen at him, by the way. I gotta admit.
oh boy, he sucks. It bums me out that he's wearing number 44.
Yeah.
Because that just reminds me of one of my favorite Oilers of all time and one of my favorite former Habs of all time, and Sheldon Souray,
Mm.
and just making that number look bad.
We had Joel Edmondson, who is number 44, if I recall correctly. So we don't have
Blah,
as many. Yeah, we
blah.
have memories. We don't have great memories.
Wait. Also, I'm asked this just for view end
Yes.
of the chat. Are people keep going? Oh, thanks for Lane Hudson. You're glad you enjoy Brett Kulak. Okay, yeah, that's how draft picks work. Y'all won a lottery ticket. Calm down. Like,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Oilers probably weren't going to draft Lane Hudson with a second round pick. Have you seen how we draft? We're not good at it.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
weren't going to get the good player. So, like,
Listen, we gotta we don't have a lot of wins that we can lord over other teams right now. We gotta take what we can. I
I,
think Habs fans are also really feeling some regret about some other trades, including the one that's Arturi Lehkonen for Justin Barron, which I have my feelings on Justin Barron, but we can get, if somebody has a question about that, which I saw earlier, we can get into that in OT. But right now, I think fans are just like really, people are either really insanely upset, or they're really, really like smug, like and I'm sure like people are doing it in like a fun way, but that's the internet for you, I think. Is like there's a lot of people who are like, well, Lane Hudson, we gave birth to him, we raised him. You know what I mean?
he's our sweet baby. You can't take him away from us. He is pretty, like, Lane Hudson's sick. That's one of the first times I've like really actually watched him. The dude can play. Get a better number though. 48. Grow up. Terrible.
What does
Trash
that mean?
number.
I don't know. What's wrong with 48?
It's just a stupid number. It's a stupid number for a defenseman. I don't. Also, name another NHLer that's ever worn 48. And Lane, like, it's just not good. It's not a good number. It's dumb.
See, that's good that he can define 48 by himself. Either way,
I
I think
mean, no, it screams. It screams. Oh, I'm here on a. I just came up for the weekend from Laval for an amateur tryout. 48 is get a grown up number, Lane.
I think this is something you can take up with him in his Instagram comments. I think this is
I
something.
will. I will.
Just
I
go
will.
up.
The fat guy from Edmonton being upset about his number is really gonna make some waves in his Insta comments.
It's gonna get him, but then House fans will get your ass in the comments. So, what's winning?
Yeah,
What's losing here?
good point. I deserve that.
Yeah. So, uh, well, what is there anything that you noticed about the Habs that you specifically would like to ask me about?
Hmm. I'm really I I I I don't understand. I don't understand what Martin St. Louis is doing with mostly Uri Soklovsky, mainly him. But I also fundamentally don't understand some of his choices as a coach.
Yep. Okay.
I felt like at times, and it worked, so you won, so I looked like an idiot no matter what. But there were times when it felt like Slavkovsky was getting put out in these really weird defensive situations where
Mm-hmm.
he is just pointedly not good yet. Maybe he will be one day.
I think they are manifesting. Let's laugh.
Hey,
I think they're manifesting, is the way that I would say it in hashtag just girly things terms. But I think they're just like putting him in the situations that they want. Because here's the thing, he's playing with Nick Suzuki, right? Nick Suzuki is going to be put in defensive situations. They're going to want him out there. If it was up to Marty, he'd be out there on the power play, PK, and the entire like 60 minutes of the
Nick Suzuki is like the perfect coach's player. He's not
Yeah.
amazing at anything, but
Yeah.
he's really good at most things, and he won't make you look stupid.
He's amazing at being my meow meow, actually. I'll have you know. I but yeah,
That
so
kind of show. Let's go.
listen, it's past 10. Usually we'd start a show at 9:45. So I'm taking that as permission. No, but like I think that's pairing that they see long term. Um, but for right now, I think they're just Marty's really weird because I think he's been put in this position where like now he has to like now they're saying that they want this team to like development is a thing that they want development, but they also want wins, which I'm not sure if you know, but the Habs were not getting wins at the start of the year. We were tied with I want to say the Sharks in or Blue Jacket. I don't know. It was bad.
Oh yeah, a week ago you could have told me that Montreal had won a game, and I would be like, "You did? I didn't see that. I don't know when that happened. Good for you." But
Yeah.
I'll believe. So it is cool to see things pulling around for Montreal because like there are a lot of very cool, like fun, likable players. I mean, like not to go more like Alberta about it, but I love Kirby Doc.
Mhm.
I think I want him to have all the success in the world. As one of my favorite Saskatoon Blades to
Yeah.
watch when he was here. So like there's a lot of like fun stuff for the Habs. I just want to see it pull together better.
Mhm.
And I keep becoming more and more convinced that Martin St. Louis is not the person to do that.
Yeah.
Like he feels like the coach you have before you start to be good.
Mhm.
Whereas like Marty St. Louis feels very much like a vibes guy, and I think this team has more raw skill and needs a more technical set of coaching and a more detail oriented coach. Maybe this is just for me watching a handful of Habs
Mhm.
games, but I feel like this team could be so much better with a more experienced coach to kind of guide the things. Like of all the things to watch about Montreal, that's my biggest takeaway.
Mhm.
Also, the goal horn. mm, mm, mm.
Listen, I got nothing to say about that. Let's talk Marty, but first, I'd like to tell everybody a little bit about Hyperdrive Hockey. I'm sure everybody's heard about it. We are trying to do a show that's uh three French Canadians who are doing a show in English, some really good perspectives in terms of perspectives we wouldn't necessarily hear in English speaking Canada, wouldn't necessarily get that specific point of view in terms of those people. I'm not like saying all people from Quebec have the same hockey point of views. I'm saying in terms of like I've seen Max, like I've been following Max on Twitter for a long time, and a lot of me understanding what he was saying was using the translate button. So, yeah, I'm just really, really hyped about this, and I hope that everybody's, watching them. They put out two episodes twice a week, I want to say. But yeah, so it's Max, Daph, and Kev, and you can learn more about it on at Game Over Network. That is on Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram. We're everywhere. And you can learn more about Hyperdrive Hockey at thegameovernetwork.com. Um, so yes, now let's talk a little bit about. I'd like to get a little bit more into Marty. Um, because this is a conversation that I think a lot of Habs fans are having, especially at the start of the year when we were seeing the losses. Like there was a lot of noise. Which by the way, did you hear about the Gerard? Wow, I'm not good at this. I'm not good at names, guys. I'm ESL, guys. Give me a break. But there's Gerard Gallant, I think. That one tripped me up. Did you hear about that rumor?
Yeah, and
It
it's
was a rumor
so.
for an hour, by the way. That was the rumor.
Was that how long it lasted? I honestly think Gerard Gallant wouldn't be a bad coach for this team. I really don't. But I'm very much of the opinion that and again, I am not francophone.
Mhm.
I am not. The most amount of time I've spent in Quebec and Montreal is when I got flown out there for a radio thing a couple years ago, and I ate bagels and poutine and got invited by a weird man to go to a party on a Tuesday. Um, weird times. Fun, great, Montreal rocks. So I may be just like missing something about like the kind of things about being a Habs fan. I am so constantly baffled and frustrated why the team likes to lock itself to a francophone head coach or a coach that can speak French. Get a good coach, teach the guy how to speak French. I know the French media is aggressive and very intense, but what better way to show your commitment to a team than by hiring someone and be like, look at the work he's also doing from the language side. He's someone who can really work it here. So I've always thought when you're focusing so much on making sure someone who can speak the French media, you're losing 75% of the available coaching pool. And I don't think that's worth it
Yeah.
from my perspective as just an Oilers fan and just like a hockey lover in general. It feels counterintuitive to being successful to me.
So this is a really loaded subject that I would like to like get into at some point in time, but uh it's I let me just say that I understand why it is the way it is. You want a coach who can speak to the entirety of the province, right? You don't want them to just for it to be the Habs are more, and said this so often, but the Habs are a cultural institution. They're not just a sports team. So there's a lot to it. And I think honestly, like how many new coaches are in the rotation anyways? Aren't all NHL teams
That's a
just
good point.
rotating like the same like 10 guys?
Excuse me, we hired a guy who had only coached one NHL game in his career by accident because the other guy got COVID. So we're trailblazers. Get with the program, Montreal.
I mean, you guys had it first. We had the PV coach, so we have what we have.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Just
That was
one
a good
upped
point.
it
That's a
really
good
hard.
point.
Just be like, oh yeah, you have one game experience. Well, ours didn't ever teach any kind of hockey other than PV hockey. So
Oh
take
God.
that.
Yeah, well, hey, Marty St. Louis, big vibes guy.
Big
Big
vibes.
vibes guy.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, with Marty, I'm actually interested in what I know you said the defensive kind of situations for Slav, but is there anything else that you were talking about?
Well,
Because my
I mean, that
issue
was
with
one that
how Marty handles that first line is not Slav. There's somebody else on that third line that
yeah.
I have thoughts
Well, I
about.
mean, the other thing that I think kind of stuck out with me, I mean, the fourth line for the Habs was really good tonight. And like when
Yes.
you every time they were on the ice, they did the classic, oh, I can just outwork Edmonton
Yeah.
because we're gonna try to focus on skill and doing something pretty and making something happen that way that can live on a highlight reel. And when you have that very fancy style of play that the Oilers have, for whatever reason, still can't break out of, going up against, yeah, well, get wrecked. We're gonna work harder than you. Um, I think that's something very notable.
Mhm.
That being said, if you're in a situation where your fourth line is going out in the offensive zone
Yeah.
repeatedly,
Yeah.
you're statistically that's stupid. Like what you're either not managing your bench right or you're not managing your changes properly.
Hmm.
I'm a big lacrosse guy.
Yeah.
I love that sport to death.
Hmm.
And one of the coolest things you see in lacrosse is those constant switches between forward. You have entire lines that'll change over from forward to defense. You obviously
Hmm.
can't do that in hockey. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But when you have guys with painfully low shot totals and expected goal numbers that are just they're statistically bad offensive players. Why
Hmm.
are you putting them out in a situation that you're hoping them to score? Is it going to work out sometimes? Of course, it's the NHL. All these players are very talented,
Hmm.
but you're not you're limiting your chances to score more goals by not making sure you're spacing things out properly. So you have like a Doc, a Slaff, um, someone there who can put goals in because your bench management is weird.
Here's the thing. There's not a lot to fall back on in the Habs roster. So right now, Jake Evans is playing our 2C. Got my Jake Evans mention in too. 'Cause
Nick Evans is rad. He's a good
he
player.
rocks. He rocks. But at his best, he's a 3C, 4C maybe. It's a contract year, which just generally makes guys do better. But I actually let me take that back because I think Jake Evans is a guy who's got where he's gotten because he's been a tryhard. Mark tells this story of all the time of apparently when he talked to Jake in Laval, he's like, "What are you good at?" And Jake was like, or like, what are you really good at? Jake was like, nothing. I'm I'm a little good at, or like I'm just average at a bunch of different things, and I work my ass off. And I think that's kind of the kind of player he is. But that's not the kind of guy you generally have as your 2C, right? Um, with ideally you'd have Doc down there. That's what we got him for. But there's been some, issues there. So my point being is that the reason why Marty's relying on his bottom six, I think, is because he has to. Um, I don't think that. I wonder if part of it is him trying to like manage the time and the spread out of the top six because of the fact that like the injuries have been so bad over the years. I wonder
That's a good
if
point.
that's
Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah,
that
for
might be a
sure.
consideration for him. Because again, I don't like very often last season, Nick Suzuki would be some games playing up to 30 minutes. Like it was insane. Um, so I think Marty is like just trying to be that's my best guess. And also, I'm not sure if you know about the Brendan Gallagher resurgence. Uh,
Oh, he's been awesome this year. Like
he's been great.
I mostly know because of my fantasy team. Picking him up for a couple games has been great. He's been very helpful.
He's been great. It's the we it feels like maybe his hands are starting to work like a regular person's hands again instead of a person who got hit by Shea Weber's slap shots hands. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, I mean, I also say a bit of love for Brendan Gallagher. Edmontonian.
yes,
Hey.
yes. I knew that. That's why I brought him up. I totally forgot that. But I knew that. That's why I brought him up. No, I think Gally has been like a really great story for us. Um, and I'm the one thing I'm really glad about that Marty has decided to hold the temptation back. Is that the phrase? He's not let the temptation seduce him, I guess.
I get where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, yeah. So he's in terms of, players will start doing good and then a coach will put him up on they'll move him up a line. I don't think Gally has those kind of the body for those kind of minutes anymore. So I'm glad that like Marty kind of keeps him down on the third. And you're seeing, I think our bottom six generally looks really good for a bottom six. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing of like, especially when you have a team that are in like kind of the place in their kind of rebuilding cycle where the Habs are, you have a lot of guys that are pretty good if they're sheltered really well.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the thing that kind of weirded me out was there's at times if I love how you pointed out like his coaching experience before this was Pee Wee hockey. It kind of feels like we're a Div 2, we're sitting in a Div 2 house league. And oh man, we got to make sure every kid gets their
Yeah.
18 minutes. That's what parents paid money for. That's why they're here. Got to make it work. But I guess with that perspective, that helps even it out a little bit, especially given the
Mm-hmm.
injury front. I
Mm-hmm.
Marty St. Louis he just screams to me the guy that you hire before the team gets good.
I think that's like a kind of a common-ish opinion across some of the fan base is that he is good for where this team is at right now. Um, excuse me. And then when it's time to actually start winning, they'll need another coach. My opinion on this is we just don't know. I'm not ready to make that declaration. I think the one thing I really need the Habs to do is put him in a better situation to succeed. And by that, I mean they need experienced assistant coaches. This is something that, like, me in the chat, like, we've talked about this so much. Um, and I think that would be really, really helpful. I think that's why the Gallant rumor went so which it lasted for like an hour because everybody was like, dude, like and I think they asked Kent Hughes about it, by the way, and Kent Hughes was like, no. But I think that's like part of the reason why the fan base really wanted to believe, because they honestly think that him being there for Marty would be a good improvement.
Yeah, I think so. I think I really wonder what could have been, because I'm hopeful like Martin St. Louis will get another shot after this one. He probably will. He's Martin St. Louis.
Yeah.
This league is built on nepotism. It feels like he could have been so much more successful as if he had in that in that way with someone to kind of help him learn the ropes. I know he's not in the NHL at the moment, and you could argue maybe he still should have been. But like the Jay Woodcroft having to
Mhm,
learn under Todd McClellan for so long, kind of work his way up
mhm.
through the system. The Derek Lalonde kind of work my way up through the system sort of way. But I mean, it's where the Habs are, and that's fine. We love vibes, big vibes guy. So we'll uh we'll
We
see how
do
it
need
works out.
vibes. Mhm.
I love Marco's point in the chat how Friedman pointed out how competitive he is. He thrives on people doubting him. I mean, good for him, but like the Montreal Canadiens are 7-10. So
Y I think also,
mm,
honestly, this is a, again, big conversation we had. Is it the coach or is it the players? And I think when okay, part of it is also it was the goalies. Right
oh
now,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. You show me a bad coach, I'll show you a worse goalie.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I think it's no coincidence that Monty playing so much better is making the team better. Um, but yeah, I think there was like that was the debate of, is it the coaches, is it the players? Because a lot of people were like, and I see Romelli saying it, that like a lot of people said that, he just doesn't have the talent. Um,
Yeah,
which
and that could definitely be true
that
as
could
well. I
be
mean,
part of
it's
it.
tough. When you're trying to build up a culture and build up a system. I mean, I think the biggest thing for the Habs is to not cut and run on Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes. Like, if
Yeah,
you're gonna make a run at it,
yeah,
let them cook,
yeah.
let them work for a little bit and figure things out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Let him cook. I the Montreal market got a reputation of being people who wouldn't be able to put up with a rebuild. And I'm
That's such
not,
a stupid opinion. It was
it
such a
really is.
stupid thing. It was so like,
And they
yeah,
say about
hockey
all
fans don't.
Canadian fan bases, right? Like they say it about all Canadian fan bases, and it's silly.
I think most fan bases are able to put up with a rebuild. Honestly, like if your team can't survive a rebuild, then you should be moved. Frankly, there's other markets to be to work through. I mean, I know things are. You can look at. I mean, Winnipeg's attendance is brutal for a number of different reasons that are kind of not so much about what's on the ice, but like, yeah, I think that's such an idea of so I think that's disrespectful to hockey fans
Yeah.
to think that, oh, they won't put up with a rebuild.
Yeah, and it's really frustrating because it often feels like a media narrative that's being run in terms of like, I think the reason why the Habs were kind of forced into the rebuild is they lost Shea Weber and Carey Price in the same offseason, right? Those are
Yeah,
two
brutal.
very
How do you get back from that? How do you survive from that?
exactly, exactly. And at one point, that season, that particular season, they had an ECHL player in their lineup, because of how depleted they were with injuries. So it was just a timing thing. That's the year that
I
they
could,
got Slav.
I couldn't even tell you who the Montreal's ECHL team is. I have no
Me
idea.
either. Me either.
Let's go.
Exactly, exactly. So I kind of, the Marty conversation is a interesting one. I see someone in the chat saying that like we can only really get a better idea of what he can do when Demidov is here with Line A healthy and the 30 million that they have to spend in the offseason. And I
The
completely,
Trois-Rivières Lions
yes.
is the ECHL team. Thanks, chat. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I was I had a I was like, there's a lion somewhere in there, but I don't know what it is.
That's
Um,
pretty sick. There's not a lot of teams named after like lions in North American hockey, so I think that rules. I think that's
they're
great.
dope. It's a dope name. Um, yeah, but with Marty, it's a conversation. But like, kind of speaking of Slav, like, how did you? I mentioned to you, I think earlier about this benching that he had last game, which just in case anybody didn't catch last game or somehow didn't see the whole ruckus on social media, in the second half of the second period, Slav was benched for probably like 10 minutes. He got one shift and it was with the uh third or fourth line, and it was Yoel Armia who was up with where he used to be, and that's when Nick Suzuki got his goal. So like that was like a whole situation that we had, and people really Slav sounded like at his availability, he's very much like, yeah, I get it. You know, I don't have any problems with it. People were kind of upset because they were like, they were a little bit there's other players who should be benched. But kind of that's the situation. Just didn't mean to get into that far, but that's the situation. Anyways, Graham, how did you feel about Slav today?
I like him. I think it was. I mean, the pick was that draft was weird for so many
Yes.
reasons. Being like your first kind of like non-COVID draft, and so many different players that seemed like they could fill that role. I mean, the Shane Wright conversation was fascinating. Um, for that season, he's what am I trying to say here? He's kind of like in the early run of Marvel movies when they first started to get good. He's like what happens when you bring in the Hulk,
Yeah.
where the character's not really built yet. You sort of got something here, but you really got to develop
Yeah.
the Bruce Banner
Yeah.
kind of character to give Hulk the depth that he needs. And Uri Slavkovsky is very much like Civil War era Hulk, where it's like he's starting to get his big parts,
Yeah.
and next he's going to be awesome in Ragnarok when that comes out. But we're not quite there yet, but we'll get there.
I love this metaphor.
He's such a I hate this phrase. It's so overused. He's got such raw talent. Like, you just gotta shape and mold. But like that's literally what it is. He's got so many good pieces that you can put together into someone that's gonna be a really awesome player for a long time. And yeah, I like what I've seen from him. He's just his defensive game at times watching it tonight felt very much based on Nick Suzuki, which anything is great because if Nick Suzuki is making players around him better, hell yeah, that's what you want in a captain.
Yeah.
So it just felt weird at times with when lines got rolled out. Um
How
but
did you
yeah,
feel about that
I
first line
like.
kind of in general? Like, how was your opinion of how
I mean,
that worked?
it's
I mean, I
fine.
know
It's
you're used to
fine.
like a first line that's a lot more, a lot more happening there, but like in
Oh
terms of
boy.
just, yeah.
Well, I like what's there. The pieces are there. You have something really good. But you definitely notice the drop off when they're not on the ice, which I think is the biggest indicator for their quality.
Mhm.
Um, Yeah, I gotta be honest. I was really more angry at the Oilers. I
That's
was
fair.
really more angry at the Oilers than actively watching the Habs as much as I could have. Beyond like, what have I gotten to
Yeah.
already? But I don't know. Slap's rad. I think he's really fun. I think it's unfair how he got dumped on in his first year, especially given how wonky the
Yeah.
draft was. Oh, Marco in the chat had the perfect comparison. He has Brendan Fraser from the '90s energy. Encino man. Slap is Brendan Fraser in Blast from the Past. Just a big happy little guy with a whole bunch of baseball cards that are worth a shit ton of money.
No, I think for me, honestly, I can admit I'm a big girl. I can admit that I was not. I was really upset about that pick. Um,
Who did
but
you want them to go for?
I mean, I didn't know shit about. I didn't know anything. I was like, oh yeah, let's go Shane Wright because that was the consensus at the moment. And I was like, let's go Shane Wright or Cooley, Logan Cooley. I think. Um,
Logan Cooley's pretty sick. Logan
he's
Cooley's
really
pretty
sick
sick.
too. But I think ultimately, right now, where they are, I would take Slav. I would take Slav. I
Yeah,
think
I think
I
yeah.
think they made the right decision for the team that they're building. Um, And I'm like, the market and the pressure and all those things are like, I think a little bit overblown sometimes. But I do think for a position like that, or first overall, you need a kind of, he is so confident. He is willing to laugh off anything. He's the kind of guy who's like, the coach was like, yeah, this is a 20 something, 20-year-old, and I am willing to bench him knowing he'll be fine. Like, he's not going to get the confidence hit. You know what I mean?
I
So I
also
think
I
it's a
also don't
good,
I still think you could bench players. Like you could Leon Draisaitl got benched earlier this year,
yeah,
and he's top 5 player in the league. You can
yeah.
bench players.
Let me ask you what I really want to ask you.
Ooh, let's
No dancing
go.
around it. How did you feel Kirby Doc looked?
Um, man, Kirby Doc is a guy that I think you're really starting to see for a young player the toll that injuries can really take on you.
Yes.
Um, and I think injuries have led to uh a pretty profound confidence hit as well. I love Kirby Doc. I think he's awesome. I'm still astonished that Chicago was like, yeah, third overall.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I still think that was a reach. Um, he's yeah, he when you have repeated injuries of a player like when he was in I think he only missed a handful of games for his whole time he was at the Saskatoon Blades.
Hmm.
And he is he runs on. I think when you have so many injuries over and over and over again, it just kills your confidence and takes away from the player that you kind of thought you were. And when you're these literal children, when they're getting drafted at 18, 19 years old with a not fully developed frontal lobe, when you have this like rocket of a career success, and I'm lucky enough to do some play by play for some like minor levels of hockey, and you see it a ton with AAA players that they think they're on these like unbelievable crazy levels of success that you could just ride forever, and
Yeah.
then the real world hits you in the face. I really wonder if Kirby Doc is almost going to take the the kind of path of a later career Sean Monahan,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
it took Sean Monahan a long time to not just physically get over those injuries, but mentally get away from them now. And you
Hmm.
see him in Columbus playing in the worst of emotional circumstances, but playing like he did when he was just ripping shit with the Flames.
Yeah.
When it was him and Johnny and Michael Furland for that kind of brief era
Hmm.
of the Calgary Flames. So I I feel like Kirby Doc is going to go somewhere else before he kind of settles into who he'll be. If he can figure out a Montreal, that's awesome for you folks. But I think it might take one more kind of change of scenery for him to hit. But he had some really nice moments tonight, and he got into the face of a
That's where
couple
you
of our guys.
see. That's where you see the potential. Like when you see those flashes, you're like, this is the guy that you can be. Um, I think the reason why I brought him up was a little bit of that confidence thing of when I brought up that Slav could have handled that confidence kind of, a little bit of a dude, like stop. Where Marty being actively like you are not playing for a little bit. That's why I kind of brought it up because a lot of people were like, why is Doc not getting benched? Why is he not, because he's been I feel really bad for him. Again, I had this conversation with Mark last game. I feel bad for him as a person. And I think it's fair that like he, after all the injuries he's
Mm,
had, is hesitant sometimes. Um,
mhm.
but there's like a weird body language thing. There's like it's a weird thing. I try very hard to be fair. But I think it's hard when he's put on the first line in place of Cole Caulfield. You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah,
it's
that
like
one's weird. That one's weird as hell.
that's a
That was
little,
weird
yeah.
as hell.
Especially because we need him at C. We need him to work out as 2C. We need a 2C from him or somewhere if we can't get it, but we need to know what his situation is. So yeah, I
I I
just
al-
take a
I
deep breath.
also would still like to. I would also still like to point out that Kirby Doc is 23 years old. That I don't know the age group of the chat at all. I know for me, I wasn't even remotely like mentally close to a full functioning human until I was like 20, maybe 26, 27. Even that's probably early.
Mm,
Like this man is a child 23 years old is not is I know it's sports and everyone loves the new young hotness,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
dude has so much game and to grow into him, and he will. Hopefully, I just don't know if it'll be in Montreal.
Yeah, I think that's a I'm not ready to give up on him at all, obviously. But my going into this season was I need to see Kirby Doc have a healthy season. Because
Bingo,
I need
1000%.
I need to see him have a healthy season because I need to see more of him. Um which seems like ironic because if anybody follows me on Twitter, they know how annoyed I was getting about like people are like Caden Gooley is like injury prone. And it's like, well, he blocked a shot. He blocked a shot. That's what happened today, where he was gone. Where actually, I'll be honest with you, I had a really hard time watching the most of the first period because I was getting really upset. Um, it was one of those moments that I was like, calm down, you have a job to do. But like, it was also a little bit of like, please don't be injured and out for 20 years. Uh,
Yeah, big time.
so yeah, I think I would have liked to it's less that like I think that like he's a bum or anything. I would like the record to like have that like I think Kirby Doc is a very um has a lot of potential and could be a very very good player for us. But we and people, are like, "Oh, it was like a horrible injury that he had to come back from." And I understand that. But at the end of the day, by the end of this season, I need to know who Kirby Doc is. That's
Yeah,
kind of
David said something really similar in the chat that he needs the rest of the year as a healthy player to show us who he'll be.
yeah,
Romali can't give him up on anyway because they don't have anyone else to play. Also a great point.
yeah.
And Marco, I think you nailed it. If you don't play Doc at center, it's a huge missed opportunity.
Yes,
Like
yes.
it totally is. I also don't know who else you're gonna. I'm again from a faraway fan. I never understand why people are not why people don't just let Cole Caulfield go because he rocks. He's rocked since he was playing in Wisconsin. Like he's just was it Wisconsin or
Yes, I
Denver?
believe. Wisconsin, I think.
Yeah, the red one. Go Badgers.
Yes, yes, I think.
I don't understand why they just let him go. Is it because he's little? Is it because he's American? He friggin' rocks. Let him shoot the puck. That's all he needs to do. Stop it.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of they just so I really like Slav and Nick together. I think they're a pair that works. Um, I think ultimately long term, a lot of people are like, well, long term Caulfield and Suzuki should be separated. Okay, that's long term. Like right now, we are where we are. Why are we not? Why don't we have him on the first line? And I understand they're trying to like build Doc's confidence, but that could also backfire. Like you could also have him in these really difficult situations where he's just where if it backfires and that could actively mess with his confidence. So yeah, that's the kind of the Doc conversation. And I don't want to it's a great win. I don't want to like get into this to be honest because I feel like people are going to start labeling me as a Doc hater. I'm just concerned. I'm a worrying girl. I like worrying about something or another. So I've chosen that the 2C to be that thing. Okay, next I think we want to talk a little bit about goaltending. That is a conversation, capital C. But first, I would just really quickly like to remind everybody to please like the video. Be sure to subscribe. Game Over Edmonton also. And yeah, we're really really excited about this kind of network and what we're building here. And we'd appreciate any bit of support that you guys give us. Genuinely, any views, any likes, everything counts. And yeah, we're so grateful you're here tonight. Um, so thanks for being you. Uh, so to get into kind of our last segment before the questions, which I understand we're running very late again, but I'll be quick. So what's the goaltending kind of? I know you said you wanted to talk about it. What's your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
I want the Four Nations face-off to be good. It looks like it's going to be so much fun. Team Sweden gonna kick shit. They look awesome.
Yeah,
Team Finland, all right, Finland, you're here. Team USA, top to bottom, awesome.
yeah,
And then you get to Team Canada, and then that's honestly that's the fart sound is probably not enough to describe the like how bad the Team Canada goaltending might be. Because
yeah,
again, Monty was great tonight playing against a very weird, dumb, stupid Oilers team, And then you have the other side. I thought we were going to get Jeff Skinner this evening, to be totally honest. I was shocked
Oh.
Calvin Pickard was playing. Romali, there is no good goaltender in Canada. You were totally right. There's not. And I don't know how this Oilers team can keep going out and assuming that this is going to be fine with the quality of goaltending they have, with the quality of defense they have.
Yeah.
Because Stuart Skinner was awesome in the playoffs, but he has shown when he turns into a pumpkin, he is a pumpkin.
Yeah.
Calvin Pickard, I am fully baffled why they signed him for multiple years for $1 million. I know it doesn't seem like a lot. I know the cap is going up. There were better goaltenders around available.
Mhm.
So from an Oilers perspective, so frustrating. And again, you know what? When you're spending $3.5 million in your whole goaltending tandem for the Oilers, I this is what you're paying for. This is what
Yeah.
you get when you have who's a player that makes $3.5 million? Who's a $3.5 million player that I can think of off the top of my head? Dakota Joshua, does he make 3.5? Anyway, it is what the Oilers get, and it is what Team Canada is going to get because we haven't developed goalies properly. David, it is very late. Thanks for
Yes.
staying up. You're great. We're wrapping up the show
Yes.
soon. I swear.
Yes.
We just Edmonton and Montreal. We don't get to play very often, so
Yeah,
have
we have a
fun
lot
when
to
we have
talk
a chance.
about. Yeah, yeah. No, that's kind of how I feel. You know how there's some goalies that thrive behind a team that's allowing a lot to happen? Uh, I wonder if Monty's one of those teams or one of those goaltenders. But then again, that wasn't how it was earlier this season. So I think Monty's just he's more consistent than people give him credit for. Let me just say that. I think it's just from a national. I know how it looks this season. Last season, he was a lot more consistent than this. Um, so that was kind of. It's been up and down, but from a Habs point of view, we don't really have options. Primo is not.
Yeah,
Um,
Primo sucks.
Everyone knows how
That
I feel
guy's
about Primo.
cooked. That guy's cooked.
He is who he is. And whatever our goaltending situation, it's a placeholder right now, anyways. But for Team Canada, yeah, it's like Bennington is not good.
Yeah,
Bennington,
Bitter's also Bitter's a goober. Stop pretending like you're gonna go up and fight everyone that
yeah,
gets in your zone.
yeah.
Either fight someone or
Either fight
fuck
them
off.
or yeah. Did you? I'm sure you didn't see, but there was a for the Habs fans. I think it was Fowler threw a full blocker punch in one of his games. So is very. I'm not sure if everybody remembers, but Carey Price did it real intensely to I can't remember who, but so yeah, we have something coming there. But basically, I think both of our points is that the team in front of the goalie just has to insulate the goalie as much as they can because the last line of defense is not.
It's not good. It sucks. Honestly, you could bring the corpse of Mike Smith out, and it would probably be better.
Yeah, yeah. I think Carey Price with his knee as it is right now would probably have better positioning anyways.
Yeah, probably. Canadian goaltending sucks.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't know. The team. I don't know how Canada's gonna have a chance at winning Four Nations, but
You think
I don't know. It'll
so?
be fun to watch.
You think
No,
it's
no chance.
completely out of the possibility of realm of
Nah, Team
possibility?
USA is gonna kick the shit out of us.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Maybe
Team
I'm just
USA rocks.
maybe I'm just delulu. I'm just it's fine. We'll make it work.
I mean, I'm still gonna watch. I'm
Yeah.
really Marc-Andre Fleury for Canada. You know what? We might get there. We
It might
might
be
get
at
to
that
that
point.
point.
Yeah. 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 So I think that's where we are with goalies in Canada. That's fun, guys. Aren't we all having
It's
fun?
great.
Aren't we all having so much fun right now? Okay, so let's get into our overtime, which is questions. So get your questions in, guys. We're not going to be doing too much today because I have already managed to let us run very late. But kind of questions. Let me just cover one I saw before. Justin Barron. I'm not sure if you've seen any of him, Graham. But he is a guy He is one of
He's a
the
dude. I love guys.
he's a
They're
dude.
great.
Dudes rock. But he was scratched today. Um, he is one of the only right-handed defensemen in our system. There's like 3.5 of them, 2.5 really. Um, and he's not being played because there is a lot happening on the defense. But there's a lot happening on the left of the defense. I do not like after seeing like 5 games of Goalie on the left, I am realizing just how much better he is at his natural side, which like duh, but like he I really want to keep him there. Him and Baron played together last game, and I feel like it went really well. Um, so I think if anything, that's the frustrating thing for me. I think I need Marty to just play him more. They need to see what they have. Again, this is another one of those see what you have situations, so that if it's not working, you can find something else. Because it's Mayu, I think, who's the right-handed D. Savard is the right-handed D right now.
Ugh.
Um,
Ugh.
that's my
Really?
grandpa.
We're talking about
That's my
We're talking about
grandpa.
Logan Bayou.
Let's not
Fuck
get
that
into
guy,
that right
man.
now. Let's not get into that right now. I'm a woman on the internet, Graham. I don't want to get into it right now.
Fair. That's fair. That's a very good point.
Yeah, so we don't have a lot there, and I that's my opinion on it. I think whoever it was that asked was probably saw my little thread on both Twitter and Blue Sky. Um so yeah, that's just kind of my you're welcome to talk to me about it, guys. I'm always willing to engage on Blue Sky and Twitter as long as you're not being like really mean. I'm always willing to engage with everybody. Um, so I'm seeing someone, Amy, ask in the chat, what's it like having 2 Connors, 2 Browns, and 2 Skinners in one team?
Kind of weird, to be honest. We get to do a lot of silly jokes. I will say when Skinner does make a save,
Yeah,
in Edmonton, the Oilers play a little thing of Super Nintendo Chalmers from The Simpsons popping up,
nice.
and the crowd will yell either Stu or Skinner, and that's really
That's
fun.
really fun.
Um, it's really silly. I like it a lot. Multiple Connors is a little strange.
I feel like
Two
those two
Browns
are a
is what
little
I
hard. The Connors, it feels like it's a little hard to get confused. Too much
yeah,
there.
they're slightly different. And then having two Browns, thankfully that's not a big issue. Because Connor Brown rocks, Josh Brown sucks, and he's only up here because Darnell Nurse is hurt. Um, the fun thing, the Oilers, it happened on our Oilers Twitter when we got another Connor. We put together a bunch of people. Were trying to put together the best all Connor team you could.
Love it.
Which made for, I think one of my group chats worked on this for like a day and a half, trying to build the perfect all Connor team, and it was like shit like that has been really really fun,
Mhm.
From an Oilers fan standpoint.
It sometimes you need a bit. You just need a bit. My way of coping with how good the Oilers are, specifically McDavid, is every single time he does something that's like really impressive, and I just feel really like salty about it. I'll be like, I'll retweet it and be like, I could do that. That's just my. I love doing that. I'm like, I could do that. I'm just choosing not to. I could do that. I can't skate, by the
Right?
way. Just so you
It's
know.
it's a generational guy. I got a couple of Oilers questions here really
Yes.
quick.
Yes.
From who Bernardo, did I believe the Oilers would come back against the Panthers? Fuck no. Nah. I thought after game 2 we were done. I was like, okay, we'll just hang out and have fun. By the time, I'm not sure if you saw any of the photos and videos, but when the Oilers won, oh, what was it? I want to say it was game 5. What? Maybe it was game 6. One of the games where you just kicked the pants off the Panthers.
Yeah.
I was walking around Edmonton, like, and I live, I would say, like, a couple kilometers away from downtown, and with all of our windows were closed, all we could hear was honking and cheering and
Yeah.
screaming, and it went until 3 in the morning.
Ooh.
It was the coolest thing I've ever
Yeah.
experienced.
Yeah, that's fun.
When that game happened, I was like, "Yeah, we're coming back. Cool, let's
Yeah.
go. Game 7. We'll see how it goes." And we were 1 goal away, and it feels like a lifetime ago given how this
Yeah.
team has played this year. But like when we had the first one that was a big fight in game 4, and then well, I think it was game 5 that things went like just crazy. I was like, oh, the Panthers don't know what to do, and now
Yeah.
Bad Bob is back. I genuinely thought we were going to come back after
Yeah.
I think it was game 5 or game 6
Yeah.
that this is going to happen, and it didn't, and I'm still sad.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
And is the Jeff Skinner reign of terror over? I don't know. Maybe he'll get for Habs fans, probably, because you
I
only
was
have
gonna
to
say,
see
I
him
think
one
for
more
Habs,
time
I
this
think
year.
for Habs fans, it's over. I told you he just absolutely wrecked us. And just one last question for you from Marco is how comfortable are you having? Well, you can read, I can read, we can both read. How comfortable are you having Oilers into the playoffs with the depth on the back end?
I think I'll make the playoffs. I think I'll make the playoffs just fine. I'm not concerned about that. I mean, I've seen the team. I've seen the team do bullshit like this before, and
Mhm.
I'm sure they will again throughout the season. But there is a switch that does eventually flip, and I think I really think there's a good. People are underselling how much this team misses the physicality of Evander Kane.
Mhm.
He makes a big difference even when he's not scoring, just in how teams act around the Oilers.
Mhm.
So when he comes back and later on the season, that's going to be absolutely mega. I am almost positive there's going to be a trade for a defenseman or another goalie, perhaps somewhere out there. Is it going to cost a whole lot more than you're probably necessarily hoping to pay? Yes, but I mean, at this point, see how things shake out. Because I mean, now that Leon signed for the next 9 years, um, I think it's fait accompli that Connor will sign because he will never have a chance to play with a player as good as Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah.
If he goes to
Do
free
not
agency,
separate.
he just won't. He just won't. I can't
Yeah.
see them splitting. It
Yeah.
won't happen. They're gonna be they were best man at each other's weddings, or they will be
Yeah.
when Leon gets married.
Yeah.
Um, so ultimately, if you have those two, you have a chance to win a Stanley Cup. And so, maybe it won't be this year like everyone kind of thought it will be, but
Yeah.
that probably makes sense given how weird the defense is, and you can kind of rebuild on the fly. As much as I hate Stan Bowman, and I'm bummed that we ever signed that loser to be our GM, he's really good. And the thing that made him good in Chicago is he's really good at making those final tinkering trades
Mhm.
to make the team win. It's trying to keep the team together after he wins that he turns into Ken Holland.
I feel like that's a really hard part of building championship teams for most GMs, I think. Um, I think we're gonna sign off soon, but just some news for you. He has 2 goals tonight. Hell yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah, apparently.
Oh wait,
Yeah. And also, Graham, have you heard of Kale Savar?
no.
Uh, Mr. David Savard occasionally becomes Kale Savar. Uh,
Oh,
and would you like him? Would you like him for your team? You can have him. You're not gonna have to pay a
um,
lot, but maybe a amount.
I'm you know what? I would be more interested in a slightly used and laundered Cody Cece, to be totally honest with you. And I'm not even joking about that. I kind of miss Cody Cece, Mr. Games, and his dog Hugo. Hugo was a big part of this team. He kept it together.
I like how you
The winner
started
of
the
the
podcast a little bit with "I miss Cody Cece" and then you're ending it with that too. Like I think,
I still kind of miss
yeah, yeah,
Still kind of miss Cody Cece and his dog Hugo, which you may
yes.
or may not know,
I see
won
the
the
race.
Oilers Rough Rambler Relay last year, and if we bring him back, he can compete again. So
I
that's
love
really
that.
important to me.
Love that for us. Okay, guys, we're gonna sign off. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm sure it felt good for a win, and I'm sorry for the Edmonton fans, but don't worry. Next game you'll get us. It's fine. Uh, Ultimately, you're gonna be laughing in the end. So, thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to like the stream and subscribe. Again, you can subscribe to Game Over Edmonton. I will have those links in the chat, or sorry, in the description. You can follow both of us on our social medias. Again, that will also be in the description. And thank you for joining us.